Hey everybody, welcome back to homerecordingmadeeasy.com, visionrecordingstudios.com, and here on my YouTube channel. And today I was just playing around, finishing up a mix, and I wanted to do a quick video here and take a look at a new Slate Digital plugin called the Custom Series Lift, which is part of the new mixing / mastering bundle package out on Slate Digital's website. Go check it out. You can see here the Custom Series Lift is in white, and it also comes along with the Custom EQ, which we won't look at today. We'll do a little bit more of a review of that at a later time. But here's the Custom EQ here to the far right, and these two new plugins were just released, I think it was last week or so, at the time of the recording of this video. And so I've been playing around with it just to see what the differences were. You know, again, we always talk about plugins, and I always talk to my students and a lot of my YouTube subscribers about new plugins and do you need all these plugins? And it seems like every week someone is coming out with a new compressor, new EQ, so on and so forth. Do you really need all this stuff? I mean, how many EQs do you need, right? So, and compressors and such, but we're just going to close the Custom EQ for now. And we're going to just take a look at the Custom Series Lift. And the Custom Series Lift, what interests me to take a look at this is because if you own the virtual mix rack, which is what you're looking at here by Slate Digital, you know that a free plugin that comes with that is this one in the center here called Revival. And Revival, for lack of a better word, is more like a sonic maximizer. It's a two-knob plug-in with a thickness knob here at the bottom and then a shimmer knob for lows and highs to kind of put some polish on individual tracks and or an entire mix, which is what we're going to listen to here in a second. And when the Custom Lift came out, I was interested to compare what's the difference between the Custom Lift and the Revival sonically. Because if you look at the Custom Lift, again, it's a two-knob type of a processor, again, where it has the lows, the low lift, and the high lift. The difference between the Custom Lift series and Revival is on the Custom Lift, you have an output attenuator here where you can boost or cut the overall output depending on what you're doing with the two knobs above it. And you also have a couple of different selections. In the low section, you have a button here called Big and then Punchy, which sound a little different from each other, which we'll check out in a second. And then on the high lift, you have Present and Silky, whereas on Revival, you just have two knobs and you don't have any buttons and you don't have an output gain or attenuator. So, but what's the difference sonically? Are they pretty much the same thing? And so I said, let me just playing with this quickly, and I've only spent about 20 minutes with this plugin, so forgive me if I don't know all the nitty-gritty details of this new Custom Series. You can always go out to Slate Digital's website and read about it. But I was working on a mix, which is going to be part actually of the Quick Mix series for September 2015. And if you don't know what that is, go out to homerecordingmadeeasy.com and check out the Quick Mix series, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And this is the mix I'm working on for that. Excuse me, for that product. And I was finishing up the mix here, and on the master bus here, which is what you're looking at, I went ahead and put Revival on it and then the Custom Series Lift and kind of trying to A/B them, and I just wanted to share that with you. So what's unique about this mix for the new Quick Mix product is the whole mix is done only with Slate Digital plugins, which is really cool. So what you see before you is the mix bus, and I have the virtual mix rack, and in the first slot here I have the VCC, and I'm using an SSL console emulation here. And then right after that I have Revival, and then I have the Custom Lift, and we're going to bypass each one, turn each one on and off, and kind of try to see what sonically the differences are. Right now both Revival and the Custom Lift are off, as you can see with the power buttons here. Okay, when they're illuminated they're on, when they're grayed out they're off, so they're off right now. And then from the virtual mix rack we're going into the FG Mu Slate Digital bus compressor, and then we're going to the virtual tape machine, just so you know what the bus chain looks like. So what I want to do is just play back a small section of this mix, and we'll loop a section here just so we can okay, and I'm going to play it back with no Revival, no Custom Lift. And then what I'm going to do is I'll turn on Revival first, and play around with the thickness a little bit and with the shimmer just to kind of brighten it up and give it a little bit of thickness. And then we'll stop the video, talk for a second, and then we'll turn on the Custom Lift and let you hear the two. So here is with no processing with Custom Lift and no processing with Revival. Okay, so that's with no processing at all. This is a live recording, by the way, of kind of an R&B track, which is cool. It's going to be a really good product. Check out that quick mix series, as I mentioned earlier. So now I'm going to play back that same section. I'm just going to kick in the revival here and play around with it, and let's see if we can get a little bit of thickness and a little bit of shimmer to kind of enhance this mix.
Baby, you don't need to worry, 'cause my intentions are just bad enough to be good. The situation's still blurry, baby, but I can bet you if you don't, you'll wish you could pick up the phone, call out my name, because you see, I'm a risk worth taking. Baby, slow down and listen now, 'cause I've got more than enough of that love you're missing. Slow down, pay attention, we've got nothing but time, so
Before,
baby, don't say goodbye. Slow down, baby. If
After.
you just slow down, we could just.
okay, so as you can hear there, the revival's really nice, and in that it adds a little bit of thickness and a little bit of top end. It does something with the EQ frequencies, and it tends to get a little bit more heavy weighted on the bottom end, but not really muddy. And the shimmer, if you crank it up too much, gets a little bit too brittle. But what Slate recommends, and I've seen him say this on his YouTube channel at one point or another, that whatever you think you have, the thickness and the shimmer dialed in just the way you like it, back it off to about 50% of what you originally thought, and that's usually just enough. It's easy to tend to overuse this. And when you put this on, I recommend, especially on an entire mix, take a 15-20 minute break, go out, have a cup of coffee, come back, listen to your mix again with the settings, and you'll usually find, at least for me, that I always overdid it a little bit because it sounds so nice, and I end up having to back it off a little bit, which is fine. Just keep that in mind. But it's a nice little enhancement, and it really does a nice job without sounding really processed. So again, with revival here, I'll play back this section. It's on right now, and I'll just keep toggling the power switch on and off so you can kind of hear the difference.
Baby, you don't need to worry, 'cause my intentions are
Before.
just bad enough to be good. The situation's still blurry, baby, but I can bet you if you don't, you'll wish you could pick up the phone, call out my name, because you see, I'm a risk worth taking. Baby, slow down and listen now, 'cause I've got more than enough of that love you're missing. Slow down.
Okay, so there you go. So it it adds a little something, but it doesn't sound overbearing, and it doesn't sound like it gets in the way. So that's revival, and I've done a full review on this on my YouTube channel a while back. You can go check out the archives. So now let's take a look at the custom lift. So we're going to shut off revival, and we're going to turn on the custom lift here, and let's take a listen to this. So now we have a couple of different options here for settings. So we have, again, the low lift, and we have a big and a punchy kind of a setting here. And I'm going to start off with it on big. And again, this is taking the low in and out. If you want to turn off the low and just use the high, you can do that by this button here. I got them both engaged or enabled. And then we have the high lift, and we have a present and a silky setting. And I'm going to start off with a present setting. So what I'm going to do is play back this, turn this on a little bit, turn everything all the way down on big, on the low, present on the high, and just dial it up a little bit. Revival is off now, and just see what the difference is. And what I did with the output is here, I took about a dB or two out, because as you increase these frequencies to kind of level match the plugin, which Revival doesn't have. And let's just hear the difference. So I'll shut up, and here we go.
You don't need to worry, 'cause my intentions are just bad enough to be good. The situation's still blurry, baby, but I can bet you if you don't, you'll wish you could pick up the phone, call out my name, because you see, I'm a risk worth taking. Baby, slow down and listen now, 'cause I've got more than enough of that love you're missing. Slow down.
Okay, so we have here with, again, the big in the present setting on the low end. Again, don't need a lot to really get the low end there. The low end, and we'll compare the difference between the lift and the revival in a minute. But to me, the low end, frequency-wise, sounds relatively close to the thickness setting of the revival. On the high lift, however, to me, at least on the present setting, it sounds like on the lift, you don't have, it's not manipulating as high of the frequency range as it is on revival. On revival, the shimmer tends to get a lot more when you crank it up more. Where on the high lift, on the custom lift, it sounds like you get a little bit more upper mid-range and not so way up high in the 10, 12K range. But let's play around with the silky setting. So now what I'm going to do is just keep looping this back and forth, and I'm just going to kind of switch back and forth between presence and silky and big and punchy, and kind of just, turn the knobs a little bit, see what we get. Turn things on and off, and where I get it to where I think it sounds good to me, and again, this is all personal preference, then what we'll do is we'll stop and I'll go ahead and reset the loop, and then we'll just compare the difference between revival and the custom lift so you can kind of hear the difference between the two. So here we go.
Baby, you don't need to worry, 'cause my intentions are just bad enough to be good. The situation's still blurry, babe, but I can bet you if you don't, you'll wish you could pick up the phone, call out my name, because you see I'm a risk worth taking. Baby, slow down and listen now, 'cause I've got more than enough of that love you're missing. Slow down, pay attention, we've got nothing but time, so baby, don't say goodbye. Slow down, baby, if you just slow down. We can just, baby, you don't need to worry, 'cause my intentions are just bad enough to be good. The situation's still blurry, babe, but I can bet you if you don't, you'll wish you could pick up the phone, call out my name, because you see I'm a risk worth taking. Baby, slow down and listen now, 'cause I've got more than enough of that love you're missing. Slow down, pay attention, we've got nothing but time, so baby, don't say goodbye. Slow down, baby, if you just slow down. We can just, baby, you don't need to worry, 'cause my intentions are just bad enough to be good. The situation.
Okay, so again, going between big and punchy, there seems to be a more noticeable difference. They're just basically between these two settings. It's just manipulating different frequencies along the frequency range. The punchy sounds more punchy. Hey, how about that? So it sounds like it's got a little bit more of a lift and more of that fundamental frequency on the low end, somewhere probably around that 60 hertz range-ish. And it gets a little more attack, a little more in your face. The big, to me, sounds a little less prominent, but has probably a wider Q. If you're looking at a spectrum analyzer, looking at the frequency range, it probably seems like it has a little bit of a wider Q, and that's what it just sounds like to me. I don't know, obviously, what frequencies they're playing around with these two settings, but there is a noticeable difference between the presence and the silky. To me, they're very, very similar. Again, the present, or the present seems to have a little bit more gets a little bit more on the higher end than the silky does, a little bit closer to what maybe the shimmer does on revival. But in any event, it sounds really good, and it really does enhance the mix. When I turn it on and off, and you bypass it altogether, you just the mix kind of loses its life. So it definitely does something to the overall sound of the mix, and I think it sounds really good. And I guess you get the added benefit that you have some more variety here with the custom lift as opposed to the revival. So now what I'd like to do is just start off with the custom lift, and then I'll shut that one off and turn on revival and go back and forth, and you can kind of hear the difference. Now, again, they're going to sound a little different. It's a little challenging to get them to sound exactly the same, and that's not really what I'm looking to do here. I'm just trying to see what does one do over the other, I guess. So let's take a listen to that. We'll start with custom lift. I'll dial it in a little bit more, maybe keep it more on the big setting and more on the silky setting, or maybe the present setting. Dial it into where I like it, and then I'll shut it off and turn on revival, and we'll go back and forth.
Situation's still blurry, babe, but I can bet you if you don't, you'll wish you could pick up the phone.
Okay, so there's a difference between the Revival and the Custom Lift. Again, to me, they sound very similar, and you can dial them in to sound pretty similar to each other. The thing I do not like about the Revival as compared to the Custom Lift on the Shimmer, on the high end, is with the Shimmer, you can overdo it very quickly, and it gets very in your face, very annoying if you're not careful. You only need a little dash of Shimmer on the Revival, and the same thing with the thickness for that matter. But the high end of the Revival, to me, could be a little bit more annoying than on the Lift. You have the added benefit of getting a presence and a silky setting, which definitely sound a little different, and it sounds a little bit more tame. It sounds like especially the vocal, it opens up more, but it doesn't get that real in your face. On the low end, again, between the Custom Lift and Revival, very, very similar. So if you already have Revival and that's a free plug-in, and the question is, do I need to go out and go buy the Custom Lift along with the Custom EQ? And whenever we talk about plugins, and I'll probably do a YouTube video soon, a lengthy one discussing plugins, because I get this question an awful lot, and we talk about plugins all the time. It's the big debate. It's a new sexy product by Slate Digital. Do you need, and I emphasize the word need, no, you don't need anything. When we get to the Custom EQ in another video, again, it's a model of a bunch of analog classic EQs, but if you already have the VMR, you already have the SSL EQ, and you already have the Neve EQ. So the question is, do you really need to have it? No, you don't really need to have it. Is it another shade of gray or shade of red or shade of blue on your color palette? Yes, and if you want those extra tonal possibilities, just like with Revival and Custom Lift, if you want a little bit of variety between the two, then I would say go ahead and pick it up. They have their uses. Do you need it? No. If you have Revival does an excellent job. It's an excellent product. Custom Lift is as well, but these two products are very, very similar. And some would argue that they're completely different, and one has one set of uses, one has another. I've only played with the Custom Lift for about 20 minutes before hitting record on this video, and I can tell you from what my first impression is, they're very similar, and there's no need to have both. But for now, I think at the recording of this video, if you already have all the rest of the Slate Digital products, which I do, you get a free trial of the Custom Lift and of the Custom EQ. I think it's for 6 months, and again, they may change this by the time you watch this video, so don't hold me to that. So I'm getting these for free for 6 months, as many other people are. At the end of the 6 months, will I purchase them? I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to play around with the Custom EQ and see if that's worth having. But again, another great product by Slate Digital. It does a really good job. It does enhance the mix. And if you watch the Quick Mix series for September 2015, I used Custom Lift and Custom EQ throughout the entire mix on every single track, so you can really hear what it does on individual tracks, mix buses, individual groups of like drum buses and bass buses, as well as the full mix. And you'll be able to really hear the difference. But for now, we're just comparing these two plugins. And again, I think it's a great plugin by Slate Digital, very close to Revival. That's the difference between the two. Hope this was helpful. For more tips, tricks, training on mixing and mastering and everything home recording, go out to homerecordingmadeeasy.com. Check out the Made Easy series products if you don't know about them, and as well as the Quick Mix series, like I've been mentioning a few times in this video. And for more information on my mixing and mastering services, you can always go to visionrecordingstudios.com and check it out there. And until next time, this has been David Vignola with homerecordingmadeeasy.com. Take care, guys.